Hi, everybody, and welcome to Under the Hood. We are entering our third year of this podcast, so I'm so delighted to have Amir here as my guest for this third anniversary. I didn't tell you that, so
Happy anniversary, Tina. Very happy to be with you.
so thank you again. Let me tell you a little bit about Amir. He's got a very long bio, and I'm not going to read it all, but he's a founder, an investor, and a venture builder with a track record of scaling AI-powered companies in under-innovated sectors. So you're a disruptor, I think. Yes?
That's the plan.
Founder of Visita, the leading digital health platform in the Middle East and Africa, scaled to 1,000 plus professionals and 300 million patients across 5 countries with a successful exit to the region's largest private equity firm. There's a lot more here. You currently lead In Vitro Capital, which is, again, just an interesting name of a company that you're going to tell us about, and is a venture builder based in Orange County, California, based on creating scalable, capital efficient businesses. In 3 years, the firm has grown to 150 plus professionals and 4 portfolio companies. So you know a thing or two about business and how to scale it. And you also work for McKinsey and AstraZeneca, and you have an MBA from MIT. What's MIT Sloan? Is that the name of the school?
That's the name of the business school of MIT, Sloan.
Okay, you are a current board member at Bloomberg, New Economy Health Council, UN Global Compact, and Endeavor. So, welcome. That's a lot, but this is not a typical podcast just about business. Under the Hood is all about patterns that are created in childhood impact us as grown-ups. And
Um,
so I love people's stories, and people love your stories. So we're going to start with just this is a crazy time in this country, in this world. Actually, we have conflict everywhere: inner conflict, outer conflict, families, relationships, businesses, and so on. So how we manage them has a lot to do with these patterns. So tell us a little bit about your background, your family of origin, and I'm most interested, and people are most interested in the things that have, number one, helped you to be successful, the patterns that you learned from your family and so on.
so first of all, thank you very much, Tina. Thanks for reading my long bio. I try to make it longer than it should be, but thanks for going through all of that. So I come from an entrepreneurial family. My dad is a pharmacist. That most of his career he was basically running his own business and building a pharmacy chain. My mom as well worked with my dad for most of her life. So that's what I have that I was raised seeing my family doing. Never expected myself to be doing anything other than being an entrepreneur myself. At that time, I don't think the word entrepreneur is the word that we use to explain what does this mean. I think we're using the word businessman or business owner, but that's how I thought about it. And when I started my career, I started in building a small distribution firm, and then joined McKinsey. But it was very clear to me that one day or another, I'm gonna end up very quickly going back building my own things. Um, and I think the biggest reason for that is not to be my own boss. I actually I don't think that there's anybody is his own boss. I think there is always a boss for somebody. But I think the most exciting thing is building with freedom. I think when the bigger the company go into, the more complicated the politics are,
Hmm. Yeah.
and the more effort and energy, rightfully so, that you need to put to basically maneuver these politics, these rules and regulations. Big organizations have rules and regulations. The smaller it is, until you go very, very small to be your only guy building it from scratch, you have no rules at all, or at least you are the one who are building the rules. And I think freedom is what excites me. It's like, no boundaries. I can do whatever I want. So I think that's where I'm coming from.
Well, I haven't worked for anybody in 40 some years, so I think I can relate to that. But
I'm sure.
I never heard it exactly used like that with the word freedom, and that's exactly what it is. So there's a cost to that as well. Um, it takes away the structure, it takes away that sense of security. Um, Tell us a little bit about, again, from not only the business side of it, but how did your family train you, so to speak, to have this sense of possibility?
There's when people are have different styles and different personalities. I think I always think since I was a kid that there's a continuum of how you want to please others, and how to be basically a pleaser, versus on the other spectrum is to be a builder. And I could be, I know that this sometimes could be a little bit harsh to say, but I think the more pleaser you are, the less builder you're going to be, because at the point of time, you need to please larger number of people, versus being a builder, focusing absolutely on building, and to a point that you could be actually very not the best when it comes to pleasing people, because you're focusing on the product. Think about it, people and product, kind of a continuum. People on the absolute left, product on the absolute right. And I'm not talking about it from a business perspective. I'm talking about it from a personality perspective. I think it come from my dad was more of a product person, a builder, less than a pleaser. I think I grew up loving to be a builder, and I think the achievement of building is a very big thing. And I think correlate the freedom to the building. Like you want to build something, and I think when you have the freedom, you have the luxury to build. When you have less freedom, you have the luxury to operate what has been already been built by someone else. So I think people persons are very good in operations. Uh, Builder persons are very good in building, less in operations. So I'd say that's one of my definitely clear pitfalls. And I think that's what I found my family, my dad doing, and that's what I wanted to do growing up. And that's not only in business, by the way. That's also in extracurricular activities. That's in.
So tell us a little bit about, because you said that's one of your downfalls, pitfalls. What are some of the inner conflicts that happen with that continuum
It's
for?
the I think there's two things. Definitely is the level of insecurity, because when you go out of the crowd, try to build something, whether it's a business or extracurricular activity, you join a club versus building one. So I think the level of insecurity and whether people are going to actually follow you or not I would say, was one of the big ones. And I think it's a very solo journey, because when you succeed, um, you didn't succeed alone. There's a lot of people and team that have actually made this happen. But when you fail, it's kind of like you fail alone. So it has this aspect of it. Um, and I would say the other one of it is really learning where you're gonna screw it up. And I think it took me a long time to learn that. It's one of my mentors once told me, if if somebody asks you about your pitfalls and you say stuff that you don't feel embarrassed to say, you're basically still unaware of what are your pitfalls. Your pitfalls must be things that is actually um, good things and good functions, but you're bad at it.
Yes.
It's not like saying things that doesn't matter doesn't mean that you have actually acknowledged what are your pitfalls. And I think while growing, building, I've learned I can build, but I'm not the best when it comes to operations.
Okay. So the
So
people part we leave to somebody else. Is that kind of what you're saying?
usually, yeah, because you get bored, right? You want to build a new thing. You know what? Let's destroy this process, build a new one. Oh, but that's gonna be destructive than productive. So I'd rather let it go. What's working, I would let it go. Get somebody to lead it, and I move on to build something from scratch, destroy something from scratch, rather than keep on destroying what's already working. So.
I think that I've heard that there's three kinds of entrepreneurs. Okay, one is like you, the builder, who the energy and the excitement is in the building, and like you said, you get bored after it's built. You're on to the next thing. You're on to the next thing. Then there are the operations people, and then there are people who are just the talent, who love giving the service, and then having other people kind of, help them build, but knowing exactly who you are in those three different paradigms is really helpful,
I
right?
agree.
Right. So
It's the three piece people process product. So I agree. Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about, everybody's success also comes with some of these failures. Can you give us a story about something that you were excited about that just didn't work out too well, and the biggest learning that you got from that particular scenario?
Oh, so actually, in the very early days, when we're building Visita, uh, I left AstraZeneca thinking that I'm gonna be a billionaire in 2 to 3 years' time. And obviously, I was naive, knowing nothing at that time. And the idea is we're gonna build the software that the healthcare professionals gonna use, which is called EMR, electronic medical record. And I held on to this very long because it has data, it has a significant information aspect to it, um, and but it's pretty obvious that it's not sticking, and we needed to move from building software that we give to the doctors, give to the hospitals to do something else. Uh, but I held it onto this very strongly, and then we actually moved into creating the consumer aspect of it, which is the booking. And in my mind, it's like I'm going to move from information based medical data to just a booking platform. And that took quite some time to accept and comprehend the change, which is, by the way, ended up being the best thing that I've done in my career. But it was very heavy because you have a prejudgment on what is success versus what is not, versus I think entrepreneurship is, I agree, you should have a vision, but in very in most of the cases you end up building something parallel to this vision, not exactly this vision. And I think accepting this is a big thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's such an interesting place because sometimes people hold on too long, right?
I
And
agree.
they give up too quickly, right? And finding that sweet spot, which is why when going back to what you said about one of your mentors, I always say that everybody else knows your blind spots. Don't you think you should know them too?
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
Right.
And you need to do something about it. I think I usually used to say this, um, hire your pitfalls. That's your, and I mean, that will also create a very different level of respect to the people that you're working with, because they are coming to fill up things that you are actually incapable of doing. And I think that's the right way to do it.
Yeah. So tell me how this personality type that you have, because you have a very definite personality type. I like personalities, and um, how does this manifest at home with your family? To kind of this builder and these patterns. How does that kind of show up in other places?
So I'm married and I have two daughters, Jenny and Sophia, 15 and 12. Yeah, I think you would always see I'm the guy who come up with ideas, come up with things to do, but very quickly I get bored and I move on to the next one. And then my wife was like, no, 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 wait a minute. We do a home reconstruction. I was like, you know what? As soon as we were getting done with the home reconstruction, how about we sell this home and move to the next one? I was like, no, we're not gonna do that. So I guess that's that you could see this happening a lot. And even my our daughters ended up actually having both sides. One of them is like me with these kind of things. The other one is like her mom. But um, you would see these things, and again, home is like work. You understand what your partner is good at and what you're not good at, and you basically lean on them because you know that you're gonna screw it up if you keep pushing the other way around. So
So I'll ask you another question. In terms of your own personal growth, um, did you do it all by yourself? Did you have mentors? Did you what were some of the awakenings that happened and how they happened?
uh so I think Mentorship is a very different type of a thing when you apply to different people. There's mentorship when you actually go to your mentor, you go to somebody that you trust and respect, and you ask him about multiple things. So same person, you ask him about multiple things. Or you basically have multiple people and you go with a particular ask to each one of them. I think the more you are a product person, the more you will go with the latter,
Hmm.
because you're in your mind, I want an answer to this particular thing, so I want to go to this person who's going to give me an answer to this particular thing. It doesn't mean that you don't want to listen to their opinions about other things, but your brain is really focusing on product. It's focusing on, I want to score this, I want to get an answer to this. And I think that's how I used to think of mentorship advice from different aspects. um, and so that's one thing. Two, my father played a very big role as a mentor and role model to me. Many people that I've worked with in my career who have supported, they believed me, and then they became my mentors during the process. Um, but I usually am the kind of guy who basically say, you know what, I want to help in, for example, how to create a stress relief system. Then I would go to somebody who I know he's very, he's capable of balancing out pretty calm personality, and then I would go and I'm going to ask him how you do it. Or I go something, I want to help in hiring, so I want somebody who's very good when it comes to people and getting them, and so on and so forth. Usually that's how I used to.
So again, you're bringing out a really good point, because you clearly know your strengths and weaknesses at this point, right? And you're also not afraid to ask for help.
If you're afraid to ask for help, you're going to fail miserably. Honestly, knowing your weakness is a kind of maturity. Not asking for, and maturity that happens maybe with age, with experience, that I can get and buy, and that's how my evolution happened. Asking for help is a different thing. I think asking for help is a personality issue if you don't ask for help, and I think it's something that doesn't take years to build. It's basically a state of mind. If you don't ask for help, you're not going to evolve. You're not going to grow. You wouldn't have mentors. You People need to learn how to ask for help. People need to learn how to apologize. People need to learn how to change directions. And I would say these are the three very humbling traits that if you, irrespective of how egoistic you are, you still need to adopt these three humbling traits. Otherwise, you're going to fail miserably. So you're actually doing it. The ironic of it is you're actually doing it for your self-service.
Yes.
That's how ironic it is, but that's how it is.
Well, if we don't take care of ourselves, Amir, right?
No, I agree.
Who's going to do it for us, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
So, since my interest is in personal growth and stress management and peak performance, and also in conflict, how do you deal with conflict in your um, companies? Yeah, just kind of start there, and kind of what are some of the biggest challenges that you have?
Okay, so I have a contrarian view about that. And I generally think uh, democracies in general is works for some pieces and fails for others. Consensus is a pretty bad way to do. And I would say great teams are the teams that agree on the direction rather than disagree. So if you let's assume that there's a group of people came together and they agreed on option number two, which is very clearly in the ranking of options is option number two, not the best option. This team will succeed significantly more than getting another team who have 70% agree on option number one, 30% agree on option number two. I think the split, the cracks in the team solidarity is very, very serious thing. So I am a very strong believer that conflict is not about the conflict, it's about the people. And I mean, if you're going to discuss the topic more than it should be, I think I would discuss the topic, run as much data as you can, problem solving sessions as much as you can, trying to get the different opinions around each other. But at the point, you basically say enough is enough. The next is basically people, and that's when you need to fix the structure of your people. And I think this applies to every single thing in life. It applies to friendships, applies to marriage, applies to work, applies to sports teams. It applies to every. My daughter team plays soccer, and it's very obvious when you get someone out of the team who's basically not in harmony. Maybe she's actually one of the best players in the team, but when she's not in harmony and you get him out, you all of a sudden the team gives you 2 or 3 steps up. And he was like, okay, I got actually one of the best players out, but the harmony is a very different game, and that's when you succeed. And I'm not saying that the people need to follow the leader. That's not what I'm saying. I think the difference between democracy and dictatorship from this kind of a perspective is not to follow the leader. I think the leader's job is to get the wrong people off the bus, not to force the opinion. They put the effort, make kind of agreement around a particular opinion, but then at the point you need to get the wrong people off the bus.
I like to say that leaders have about as much room as a crease on a pair of pants. Everybody wants the leader, and everybody wants to kill the leader off.
Of course, of course.
So that's the group dynamics of it, right?
Yeah,
And I'm laughing about this democracy, and I call it authoritarianism.
or authoritarian.
Yeah, and somewhere in between. And if you leave it up to consensus, many times nothing gets done.
Yeah,
And if you're too authoritative, nobody wants to listen to you, and they will come and they will use you as a scapegoat,
100%,
right? So
100%.
it's definitely a skill, and this people side of it, I think many people overlook, actually, because it's the thing that runs everything.
And let's agree. Y- 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 there is a fact. If you decide to become a leader, and some people agreed that you are an okayish leader and they want to follow, um, I think it's a negligence not to lead. I think if you think about it, that this is an authoritarian, that's not. Your job is to decide, and basically that's the direction. And definitely your job is to try to convince others and change the direction if the inputs coming from them allows for that. But at the end of the day, it's your job to say where we're heading. Otherwise, why you have taken this job?
Exactly, exactly. So I think we can conclude on the note that this is a skill.
I agree.
Absolutely a skill, just as much as the building and the product and the data and all of that, and putting these pieces together. Or
A skill that must be accompanied by focusing on outcome
Mhm.
rather than whose idea is this, who said that. I think also the ego component here is very, very dangerous component. So it's a skill, plus I would say the very, very focused, sharp focus on the outcome.
Yes,
Yeah,
one without the other doesn't work, right?
yeah, yeah.
So I know that we could talk a lot more because you've got a wonderful depth to your thinking, and I love it. And I think our people,
Christina.
listening will love it as well. And so, how can people get in touch with you, Amir? And just tell them just briefly again what you're up to, what you're looking for.
So we are in the venture builder space. We think about it as a new asset class. We say new because it's not very well known yet, but it's growing tremendously. Where we build companies and scale them and fund them until exit, and hence the name in vitro, where we basically build companies under controlled conditions, and we scale these companies, fund them, scale them until exit. We are very much focusing on AI and at the intersection of AI with different industries. We love healthcare, we love real estate and home repair, um, we love B2B software, and that's what we do professionally. For anybody, if you wants to reach out to me, the best way to do it is my email, Amir Barsoum at In Vitro Capital, my LinkedIn, you'll find me Amir Barsoum there, my X account. I mean, these are the three best ways to reach out to me.
Awesome. And then we'll have information too when we put this out, and they can reach out to you as well.
Of course.
Thank you again, a million. And I look forward to seeing this and having it all over the place because it's great.
Thank you very much, Tina. I really appreciate the conversation.
Uh,
Thank you.
so hang on, okay? And we're going to chat a little bit. All right.
Of course. Thank you.